Chapter 7. The End of Negative Feelings.
The only thing standing between you and what you are is a thought or a feeling. It's very simple. Rhonda's teacher.
Happiness is your natural state. So if you don't feel happy right now, then you have a negative feeling that is stopping that happiness from being present within you. This chapter has various practices that will help end negative feelings that have had you wrapped in their repetitive loop. When you are free from them, you will finally live your life in your natural state of sheer joy and happiness, a life more spectacular than anything you have lived up until now.
The first thing you need to do is get in touch with negative feelings that you're not even aware of. Lots of people have negative feelings they're not aware of. Lots of people are depressed, and they're not aware they are depressed. It's only when they make contact with joy that they understand how depressed they were. The first thing you need is awareness of your negative feelings. What negative feelings? Gloominess, for instance. You're feeling gloomy and moody. You feel self-hatred or guilt. You feel that life is pointless, that it makes no sense. You've got hurt feelings. You're feeling nervous and tense. Get in touch with those feelings first. Anthony DeMello.
You don't need to know the name of the negative feeling you have, because sometimes it can be hard to pinpoint exactly what you're feeling. All you need to know is that if the feeling isn't a happy feeling, it's a negative feeling. And that negative feeling is holding back your life and preventing you from living in constant happiness. Just be aware of the negative feeling without resisting it, expressing it, or judging it in any way. And recognize that it's just a feeling. Do not make any attempt to change the feeling. When you stop wanting to get rid of the feeling and you stop resisting it, the energy will be released and the feeling can disappear.
If you stop resisting an emotion, it cannot stand. Rupert Spira.
We've convinced ourselves that if we resist bad feelings, we make them go away. But instead, we are guaranteeing that we will experience them over and over again. As the psychiatrist Carl Jung said, whatever you resist persists. Take away resistance, and any negative feeling, no matter how strong, passes through the body quickly. My teacher showed me that when you place the palm of your hand against someone else's palm and each of you push against the other's hand, you will feel resistance. If the other person stops pushing with their hand, immediately both hands drop. If you can, experiment with this with a friend or family member, because experiencing it for yourself will make it crystal clear. This is exactly what happens when you stop resisting a negative emotion. It drops away. To stop resisting a negative feeling, you have to allow the feeling to be present without trying to change it. Just be aware of the feeling. Relax and don't tense up against it, because that's resisting it. Ironically, you let the feeling go by relaxing and allowing it to be there without wanting to change it or get rid of it, without wanting to make it different or do anything about it. Let the feeling be there, and that allows the energy of it to be released. It's the very opposite to what we've always done, which explains why we have so many suppressed negative emotions.
Resistance is quite insidious. It's one of the main things that stop us from having, doing, and being what we want in life. Hail Dwoskin.
The energy behind a negative feeling will naturally release when you allow the feeling to be present. It's an automatic process. All you have to do is be aware of the feeling, allow it to be present, and not try to push it away, change it, control it, or get rid of it. When you fully allow the feeling, the energy of the feeling passes very quickly, and at the same time, it takes a big chunk of the suppressed feeling with it. For example, if you don't resist an angry feeling when it appears and you allow it to be present, it will quickly move through you, taking with it some of the original anger that you suppressed early in your life.
Don't be afraid of feelings. Let them come up and be released. Shakti Katarina Maggi.
When we notice a feeling and allow it to be just as it is, we're no longer suppressing or repressing it. We've finally begun to free the suppressed feeling. Even a bout of extreme anger can fall away in under a minute if we are simply aware of it, allow it to be there, and don't resist it.
When we strongly identify with negative emotions rather than observing them, they can very quickly drain our energy supply. By remaining present and learning how to disidentify from the emotions, we can reclaim control of our energy supply, which then becomes available to enhance our life experience. David Bingham.
The following practices I'm about to share are the most effective methods I know of to permanently release negative feelings, including all of the suppressed negative feelings that you have accrued throughout your whole life. And when they've gone, you won't be affected by negative feelings the way you once were. Your health will skyrocket, and so will your finances, your relationships, and your entire life. Even better, once the negative feelings are all gone, you will be standing unimpeded in the joy and happiness of infinite awareness. Whatever you want will appear in your life effortlessly. You will be having the experience of a human being while being the infinite being that you actually are.
When everything that can be let go of is let go of, what remains is what we desire above all else.
Welcoming.
The brilliant teacher and ex-physicist Francis Lucille describes one method of releasing negative feelings as welcoming. Welcoming has proven to be one of the most powerful practices I have ever done in my life. This practice eradicates negative feelings once and for all. It's also worth noting that the situation or circumstance that caused the negative feelings in the first place will also change when you welcome the negative feeling. This is due to you releasing the feeling you have about the situation. Welcoming is the opposite of resisting. Resistance says to a negative feeling, "No, I don't want this." And welcoming says, "Yes, you are welcome here." Awareness is always welcoming of everything. No negative feeling, no matter how strong, can stand up against the welcoming of awareness. In fact, no negativity whatsoever can stand up against the welcoming of awareness. It seems counterintuitive to welcome something you don't want, but it's resistance that holds what you don't want to you, and welcoming stops you from resisting. It can be challenging not to resist or tense up against a negative feeling, but when you open your attention and welcome the feeling, miraculously the resistance ceases, and the negative feeling, which is just energy, dissolves. The situation that you were resisting will then be able to change. Remember, opening your attention is like zooming out with a camera lens, so you're not focused on any detail with your mind. Make sure that you don't focus into the feeling. That will make it stronger, because the mind increases anything we focus on. Notice the feeling, but don't focus into it. Keep your attention wide. Teacher Hale Dwoskin suggests that in the beginning, it can be helpful to open your arms out to the side of your body when you open your attention. Open your arms as though you are welcoming somebody you love, whom you're about to embrace. This helps you open your heart. We have a tendency to keep the heart area of our body permanently contracted without realizing we're doing it. I consciously open my heart when I welcome anything in life that I do not want. My teacher says that when we're welcoming, we are being our true self, awareness, because welcoming is our very nature. In fact, the infinite awareness that you are is so welcoming that negative feelings can't possibly remain in its presence. Quite simply, when you welcome anything negative, you allow it to dissolve back into its source, you, awareness. And so when you welcome a negative feeling, you are tapping into your infinite power to dissolve it. Teacher Francis Lucille says that as we become more established in welcoming, we realize that welcoming is not really an activity of its own. Rather, welcoming stops the activity of resistance. Initially, we think that welcoming is something we do, and as we practice it more, we realize that it's actually stopping us from doing something many of us do automatically, resisting.
The feeling evaporates because it's only energy. So when a feeling arises, notice it is only energy and welcome it. It has arisen because you're ready to be free of it.
What hurts you blesses you.
Some years ago, I found myself in a state of depression. At that time, I didn't know most of the things that I'm sharing in this book. But fortunately, I knew how I had brought about depression. My daughter was very sick at the time, and I feared for her life. And I had one terrifying thought after another. Because I believed those fearful thoughts, in a few months, they sent me spiraling down into depression.
Feelings like anger or sadness exist only to alert you to the fact that you are believing your own stories. Byron Katie.
To lift myself out of the depression, I tried to think positive thoughts and thoughts of gratitude. But what I discovered is that our thoughts have very little power in the depths of depression. It's a safety mechanism that protects us from our thoughts manifesting when we're down really low in despair or depression. So, with the failure of my usual way to turn things around, I had to find another way. I decided that if I couldn't override the depression with positive thoughts, I would just stop resisting the depression, because I knew that what you resist persists. So I closed my eyes and focused inside my body where the depression seemed to dwell. I opened myself up to that black cloud of depression as if I were stretching my arms out to welcome it, and as if I were embracing it by putting my arms around it, just as you would greet someone you love dearly and haven't seen in a long time. I opened up my heart and loved the depression as best I could, and pulled it in close toward me. For a few seconds, it worsened. And then all of a sudden, it became lighter and lighter, and then completely dissolved. In a matter of seconds, it had gone, just like that. The relief was exquisite. A few hours later, the feeling of depression came back, but it was much less intense than before. I followed the same process, and I continued to do it whenever the depression reappeared. Each time I did the practice, the depression got weaker and weaker, and in just a few days, it had totally gone.
The moment you accept what troubles you've been given, the door will open. Rumi.
I know without any doubt that I will never suffer from depression again. It has left my body permanently. If I can do this with depression, you can do it with any negative feeling. When you do it yourself, you will understand the process much better. Dissolving a negative emotion when it's in full flight is the best feeling in the world. Instead of resisting the feeling of depression, which only made it worse and held it to me, I did the opposite. In my own way, even though I didn't know it at the time, I had intuitively welcomed the negative feeling of depression. Since that time, I have used the same practice for any negative feelings that have arisen, for negative thoughts, and I have also used it for any painful sensations in the body, like a cramp in the foot or a headache. I've found that bodily sensations can dissolve as quickly as negative feelings when they're not resisted. Use the welcoming process for anything that makes you feel bad, any negative thoughts or stories, negative feelings, painful sensations or memories, and limiting beliefs. Welcoming frees you from emotional bondage and allows your life to change for the better in every possible way.
When we love or hate, we stop hating. Love always wins. To love hatred means to welcome it. It doesn't mean that we should do what it tells us to do, but we shouldn't suppress it either. When we love hatred, we put ourselves out of the process of hatred, and love begins. Francis Lucille.
Negative feelings like fear can be immensely uncomfortable or even terrifying, which is why many of us have developed the habit of automatically suppressing them rather than facing them. But they have fooled us. When we allow any negative feeling to be present, welcoming it without trying to push it away, it may feel overwhelming for a couple of seconds as it intensifies, but then it completely disappears. When you have allowed a bad feeling to be present and you haven't suppressed it, that feeling will never be as strong in you again. You have weakened it, and it is now on its way out. A few more times of allowing the feeling to be present, and it will be released from your body. Watch then how much happiness floods into your body and how much goodness floods into your life from just one negative feeling being released.
Sometimes we surrender a feeling and we notice that it returns or continues. This is because there is more of it yet to be surrendered. We have stuffed these feelings all of our lives, and there can be a lot of energy pushed down that needs to come up and be acknowledged. When surrender occurs, there is an immediate, lighter, happier feeling, almost like a high. Dr. David R. Hawkins.
The relief that you will feel from releasing negative feelings from the body is exquisite. And with every released negative feeling, your body will become lighter, your life more effortless, and you will find your happiness expanding. You also gain momentum the more you do it, and it becomes easier and easier to release negative feelings. You'll reach a point where most negative feelings dissolve instantly because they are automatically released the moment you're aware of them. This is the infinite power of awareness.
Releasing is like breathing. It's natural. Inhale and exhale.
That's what every uncomfortable feeling is for. That's what pain is for, what money is for, what everything in the world is for. Your self-realization.
Every negative feeling is there to direct you back home to who you are. They alert you to the fact that you're believing stories that are not true, so you can welcome those feelings and live your life as the magnificent awareness that you truly are. Isn't it ironic that negative feelings, the one thing we do everything we can to avoid, are the very thing that will liberate us?
What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Rumi.
Use every negative emotion that appears as an opportunity to permanently free yourself from that negative emotion. As my teacher said, a negative emotion only arises when you're ready to be free of it. Welcome the emotion without trying to change it or get rid of it. You are the infinite being, and welcoming is your very nature. Welcome every negative feeling until you are free of them all forever.
It is possible to be in very peaceful surroundings and yet be tormented. And it is possible to be in dangerous, noisy, negative feeling surroundings and yet be entirely at peace. Jan Fraser.
How do you welcome negative feelings about subjects that you have a strong opinion about or a strong stance against, like cruelty to animals? Understand that the bad feelings you feel around that subject are causing you harm and are not helping what you care about. Welcome the sensations and feelings that the subject may evoke in you. Welcome your disapproval. Welcome the feelings of unfairness and injustice. Keep welcoming until there is no sensation or feeling left when you think of the subject. You might think that you don't want to stop feeling the pain about a subject because then you'll stop caring about it. But this is a story the mind is telling you, and the very opposite is true. Your strong resistance to a subject energizes it, adding a lot of energy and power that makes it bigger. So when you release your negative feelings around it, you are releasing all the energy you have focused on it, and you are disempowering the circumstances surrounding the subject. Without that negative emotion, your love and compassion, which will naturally arise in place of the negative emotions, have atomic power, and they can make a huge difference in the world. Let me tell you about Lester Levinson. Lester became enlightened through releasing all of his negative emotions and beliefs over a 3-month period. Prior to this, Lester had many health problems, including depression, migraine headaches, gastrointestinal imbalances, jaundice, an enlarged liver, kidney stones, spleen trouble, hyperacidity, ulcers that had perforated his stomach and formed lesions, and coronary heart disease. One by one, every disease and affliction disappeared as Lester released his suppressed negative feelings. Lester called his method of releasing negative emotions the Sedona method, and under the guardianship of one of his students, Hale Dwoskin, who is featured in both The Secret and this book, Lester's method continues to reach many the world over.
I was letting go and undoing the hell I had created. By squaring all with love, trying to love rather than trying to be loved, and by taking responsibility for all that was happening to me, finding my subconscious thought and correcting it, I became freer and freer, happier and happier. Lester Levinson.
Think of one painful memory from early life, one terrible regret that has been hidden. Look at all the years and years of thoughts associated with that single event. If we could surrender the underlying painful feeling, all of those thoughts would disappear instantly, and we would forget the event. Dr. David R. Hawkins.
When we release or welcome a suppressed feeling evoked from a memory, no matter how far back that memory goes, all the hundreds and thousands of thoughts attached to that memory will be released with the feeling. There's nothing better than doing this. The lightness, the happiness, and the high you feel as you release the feelings attached to painful memories cannot be described, not to mention how completely your life changes. You will know with certainty that those suppressed feelings have been affecting the health of your body when you release them. And when you see all the circumstances of your life begin to change for the better, as they most definitely will, you will know through your own experience that those feelings were holding your life back too. I once did this practice on a hurtful childhood experience that had stayed with me all my life, and I can now no longer remember what the experience was. I only remember releasing it. When I released the hurtful feeling that the memory evoked, it took all of the thoughts of the memory with it, so much so that the memory itself vanished. Hurtful memories are heavy burdens for us to carry. They get in the way of us having the life we deserve, and they're not who we are. You can free yourself of painful memories.
Notice the feeling behind every thought, and it will dissolve. It's a self-cleaning mechanism. Use the shortcut of dissolving feelings to dissolve hundreds of negative thoughts by welcoming the feeling.
It's inspiring to know that releasing just one negative feeling will take out hundreds, if not thousands, of negative thoughts with it. As you dissolve your negative feelings, you take out thoughts of doubt, unworthiness, needing approval from others, insecurity, lacking confidence, and every other kind of negative thought that holds you back from a life filled with wonder and continuous happiness. With every negative feeling that is released, your life will soar.
The super practice.
I want to share with you an invaluable practice that my teacher gave me that changed my life and that I continue to use every single day. This is a simple but powerful combination of the two most important and vital practices in this book: welcoming and staying as awareness. My teacher says that while you stay as awareness, the body is an automatic self-cleaning mechanism. What that means is that while you stay or rest as awareness, the trapped energy from every negative emotion is unwinding automatically and being released from your body by itself. You can sometimes feel the energy unwinding around the area of your chest. Step 1. Welcome anything negative. Open your heart and welcome any negative reactions, negative feelings, negative sensations, negative thoughts or problems in the moment they appear. Step 2. Stay as awareness. Stay as awareness by keeping your attention wide, like the lens on a camera, so it's not focused on any detail. Because awareness is naturally welcoming, you will find after doing the super practice for a while that the two steps merge into one. In the moment you welcome, you'll find that awareness is instantaneously present. Since doing this practice, I've noticed that negative emotions and reactions have become much weaker and evaporate quickly. I even reached a point where I loved a negative emotion or reaction to come up because it not only reminded me to welcome it and stay as awareness, but it felt so good when it dissolved. I use the same practice when a negative situation, circumstance, or problem appears. I open my attention, open my heart, and welcome the negative feeling about the situation. And then I stay as awareness the best I can. I find that the negative situation changes very soon after I do this super practice. It actually must change because our resistance is what holds a negative situation to us.
In the state of that awareness, all suffering ceases.
A few years ago, I went through an event that would be considered by most people intensely scary and stressful. However, due to welcoming and staying as awareness, the event didn't affect me the way it would have before I knew these practices. Wildfires were threatening to destroy the community I live in. I was evacuated from my house, yet felt a peaceful state of calm about the safety of my home. I felt calm because I was fine with whatever happened. I had evacuated, and if I had lost my house, I absolutely knew it would be for the best and that life needed to take me in a different direction. The fire was out of control for many weeks, destroying everything in its path. Eventually, it loomed closer to my home and was burning houses in the road where I live. But I felt no fear and no attachment to any outcome. I knew that I would remain happy no matter what happened. With no resistance to any outcome, my house remained safe. I had welcomed the situation, and I have no doubt that the peace and calm I felt through those fires was due to the welcoming I had practiced in the past.
I've realized how much misery comes of resisting the present facts, or of living in the past or the future. I don't think I realized how much pain I was in before. It's like I was hitting myself on the shin with a hammer for 50 years. And then the hammer fell out of my hand.
To be free of negative emotions is worth every second that you put into it. I have been feeling good most of the time since I discovered The Secret in 2004. But these days, I exist mostly in a state of gentle happiness due to the knowledge and practices I'm sharing with you in this book. Can you imagine living a single day without any negative emotion affecting you whatsoever, let alone living a month that way or a year? If you didn't have negative emotions, you wouldn't have negative thoughts to contradict what you want, and you would become a magnet for anything and everything you want. When you experience this for yourself, then you'll know that this is the true joy of living.
Chapter 7. Summary.
Happiness is your natural state of being. So if you don't feel happiness right now, then you have a negative feeling that is stopping that happiness from being present. Be aware of a negative feeling without resisting it, expressing it, or judging it in any way, and see that it's just a feeling. The energy behind a negative feeling will naturally release when you allow the feeling to be present. It's an automatic process. Welcoming is a practice that eradicates negative feelings. Welcoming means the opposite to resisting. Welcoming says to a negative feeling, yes, you are welcome here. In the beginning, it can be helpful to welcome more effectively if when you open your attention, you also open your arms out to the side of your body. You can consciously open your heart too. Use the welcoming process for anything that makes you feel bad, any negative thoughts or stories, negative feelings, painful sensations or memories, and limiting beliefs. When you have allowed a bad feeling to be present and you haven't suppressed it, that feeling will never be as strong in you again. Every negative feeling is there to direct you back home to who you are. They alert you to the fact that you're believing stories that are not true, so you can welcome those feelings and live your life as the magnificent awareness that you truly are. A negative emotion only arises when you're ready to be free of it. When you release your negative feelings around a subject you feel strongly about, you are releasing all the energy you have focused on it and are disempowering the circumstances surrounding the subject. When we welcome a suppressed feeling evoked from a memory, all the hundreds and thousands of thoughts attached to that memory will be released with the feeling. The lightness, the happiness, and the high you feel as you release the feelings attached to painful memories cannot be described. The super practice. Step 1, welcome anything negative. And step 2, stay as awareness.